Did you know that on average, small business owners in Canada lose about $3,000 in taxes simply because they miss deductions that they're actually eligible for? This is why if you're self-employed in Canada and you're trying to file your taxes for the first time, in this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to file your own taxes by using one of my free favorite platforms, Wealthsimple Tax. And you'll learn what are the best deductions and credits that you can claim so that you can keep more of your hard-earned money. Now in this video, we'll be focused on filing taxes specifically for sole proprietors through the Form T2125. If you're a salaried employee and you're filing your personal taxes, I created a video that you can watch over here. Oh, and before we get started, if you're confused about which forms you need to file this tax season, then get access to my 2026 tax filing checklist. It'll tell you exactly which forms you need to file and what are the best tax deductions and credits that you need to claim for this tax season. And so to download it, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Okay, and so who needs to file a business tax return? Well, you'll need to file your taxes if you earn any business income in Canada. This can include freelancing, consulting, or even running a side hustle. And you'll need to report this income using the Form 2125 alongside your personal T1 return. And this applies even if you made a few $100s. The CRA wants to know everything. In terms of tax deadlines, tax season opens late February. And as a self-employed individual, you get until June 15th to file your taxes. Also, in terms of filing GST and HST, you only need to register for this if your business makes more than $30,000 in any 4 consecutive quarters. And I'll create another video on how to actually file HST and GST in another video. And so make sure to subscribe so you're notified when I release this new video. Okay, and so here's everything that you need to file your business taxes. Number 1, basic business information. You'll need your social insurance number, business name, your industry code, and your HST and GST number if you have one. Number 2, income records. You'll need to gather all invoices, sales records, and documentation of any money that you've earned. And if you received any T4A forms, then make sure to have those ready too. Number 3, expense receipts. When you're running a business, you want to keep your receipts for everything, including advertising, meals and entertainment, travel, office supplies, subscriptions, and more. And if you use your vehicle for business, the best practice is to keep a kilometer log to track how much you've actually traveled for business purposes. And or if you work from home, you'll want to know your total home square footage as well as the size of your office, plus receipts for your rent, mortgage, utilities, insurance, and property taxes. Okay, and so now that you have everything that you need to file your own taxes, it's time for the tutorial section of this video. And to do this, I'll be handing it off to my colleague Chris, who runs his own tax practice in Ontario. And he's literally filed thousands of tax returns by now. And so Chris, you can take...
Hey guys, my name is Chris. I'm a tax consultant based in London, Ontario, Canada. And today I'm going to take you guys through a walkthrough on how to fill out a T2125 statement of business income. Once you filled out all of your personal information, you're going to scroll down to where it says manage tax forms. So this is where you're going to be going to search for the T2125. So you can search a couple different things: business income, business statement. If you just type in 2125, it'll be the first one that pops up, T2125. So when it first pops up, it's going to ask you to fill in your identification information. So for starters, if you have a business name, you can go ahead and put it in there. If you have like an operating name other than your own legal name, then you can put it in there if you want. If you are a GST or HST registrant, it is the same thing as a business number. You can go ahead and put it in there. If you are a small supplier and you don't have a business number, you can leave that blank as well. What kind of income did you earn? So some of these boxes here, you'll notice they have a question mark. If you click the question mark, it will come up with a bit of an explanation as to what the different types of income are. So in this scenario, professional income, anyone that is governed by a licensed body such as doctors, dentists, architects, engineers, you get the gist. They will be reporting professional income, but for most people, it will be business income. So you can go ahead and put business in there. Is this income related to property flipping? So a few years ago, they came up with, if you sell your house under 365 days, it's considered property flipping. And so it's considered business income, not capital gains. In this case, no. So I will go ahead and check no for that. Does this business have its own address? Basically, if you have another location that you operate the business out of, you can check yes to that. Is this a partnership? Is there more than one person that is involved in the business that has ownership? For me, it would be no. Fiscal period, it'll be from January 1st to December 31st. That is 99.9% of most people now. Back in the day, you could do a non-calendar year end, but for most people nowadays, it is a calendar year end. Brief description of your main product or service. So for me, it is tax preparation. So I will go ahead and put that in there. Now, industry codes. So if you click the question mark here, Statistics Canada provides a helpful what's called an NAICS search. So if you're not sure as to what code you fall under, you can go there and kind of get an idea. For the most part, it's really your best guess. You can type in what kind of business you're running, and there's a bunch of different codes. To give you an example here, there's 6-digit codes for a whole whack of stuff. So in the search bar, you can search tax for me right there, 541213 tax preparation services. That would be the one that most similarly falls to me. So again, it's not the end of the world if it's the wrong one. It's just the one that makes the most sense to you. After you've done that, you're going to scroll down to where it says income and expenses. So this is where you're going to report all of your income that you totaled up and your expenses, like Michael was saying. Now, when you're going to file your taxes, so if you're someone like me, I actually invoice all of my clients separately, and I have to keep track of all of my income myself. So when I go to fill out this T2125, when I go to file my own taxes, I have to actually put in the total. Now, depending on what type of self-employment work you're doing, you may actually get what's called a T4A slip from the contractor that you're working for. So a T4A slip, if you have an amount in either box 20 or box 48, that will be self-employment income. So if you actually get that slip, I will show you what it looks like. So T4A, you type it in. So it's the first one there, pension, retirement, annuity, and other income. So if you click that, this will pop up here. Now you'll see here, box 20 and box 48 appear. So just to show you guys, if you were to type in $50,000 in box 48, if you scroll down here, on which T2125 would you like to include this income? So it will come up with a prompt where you can actually transfer that $50,000 to a business statement. So for me, I already have a T2125 open, so I will select that. And then if you go back to the business statement here, you'll see fees for services, it plops it in there. So if you get a T4A, you can pull up the T4A slip, put in the income on there, it will transfer to the statement yourself. Or if you're someone like me, you just type in the number yourself. So for that demonstration, I'll just put 0 there and leave it with the T4A. Now, scrolling down to some of the expenses here. So the first category will be your cost of goods sold. Now, one thing I will kind of show you guys, if you're someone that has an inventory business, so for Wealthsimple, they will ask you, do you have inventory? So let's say yes. You'll see that 3 different line numbers show up: opening inventory, purchases, and closing. So you are responsible for keeping track of your inventory throughout the year if you are an inventory type of business. So to give you an example, let's say if you were to buy $50,000 of inventory and then you have about $20,000 left at the end of the year, you'll be responsible for putting that on the form. So opening inventory, how much inventory you had on hand at the beginning of the year, you put that in your opening inventory line. Purchases will be how much inventory purchases did you make during the year, and then closing inventory, whatever you have left on at the end of the year on December 31st, you will throw in there. So basically, you take your opening inventory plus your purchases minus your closing inventory. That will give you your inventory figure for cost of goods sold. Moving down to the actual expenses here, so you'll notice that each one is underlined here. It's actually linked. So for example, if you click on insurance, it'll actually take you to the CRA website where it describes what kind of expenses fall under insurance. So if you see an expense category on here that you're ever not sure about, you can always click the link. It will take you to CRA, give you a description of what type of expenses fall under each category, and then you can make a decision from there. Again, it doesn't have to be 100% specific. It can just go under whichever category makes the most sense based on the type of expense there. So it's got all of them listed as Michael was kind of going over. So once you go and enter all that, you'll notice towards the end of this form, you'll see some that are grayed out here. So there's motor vehicle expenses, capital cost allowance, and then business use of home expenses down here. So those types of expenses require a bit of calculation. So they do have their own section at the end of the form once you get to the end. So once I've gone and entered all of my business income, business expenses, you'll notice down here, we start getting to the other stuff I was mentioning. So capital cost allowance. So when you go into this section here, so capital cost allowance, to give you guys brief explanation. So some expenses, such as office expenses, you kind of accumulate throughout the year. Larger expenses, such as like a car purchase or equipment purchase, like a computer, they're kind of long lasting. They can last for several years. So CRA doesn't allow you to write off that entire expense in the year that you purchased it. So it is what's called a long lived asset, and you do have to depreciate it over the life of the asset. So when you go to capital cost allowance, the first question it will ask you, how would you like to report your CCA? So it'll give you two different options. So when you click the drop down button, it'll give you the option to report the totals only. So if you are good with calculating CCA on your own, maybe you have a spreadsheet on your computer, maybe you do everything by hand. If you do all that calculation yourself, it does give you the options to actually just report the totals yourself. So just to show you what it looks like here, you can put in your total CCA claim right there, and then equipment additions, dispositions, building, all that fun stuff. If you're not comfortable doing that, it will give you an option to calculate the CCA. So to give you guys an example of what that looks like, let's say I purchased some equipment during the year. Property details, you can put in a brief description of what it is. So let's say car, for example. Now for the class, CCA, there's different CCA classes depending on what type of asset it is you're purchasing. So for example, a computer depreciates a lot faster than a car. So a computer falls in a different CCA class than a car would because it depreciates at a different rate. So if you have an equipment addition or some kind of asset addition, I do highly recommend that you refer to CRA to figure out what CCA class it falls under. For a car, one that's under a specific amount, it does fall under class 10. So I will go ahead and throw class 10 in there. This AIIP, basically during COVID, the government came out with the ability to accelerate or potentially write off more than, in this case, the 30% for class 10 in the year of purchase. So for now, I'll just leave that as not applicable. Total cost and proceeds, I will just say for this example, it is $20,000. So you'll see there, it pops into all the gray boxes, business part. If it's not 100% business use, that's where you would go where this PUR is and enter what the business use is. So let's say 75%. That will change to 5%. So I'll take that out there. So when you go down to the actual CCA calculation, so this UCC starts. So if this is your first time filing a return and this is the first year of the business, this would be 0, obviously. But if you have filed a different way and you have CCA carryover from your previous tax return, if you refer back to your previous tax return, it will show you how much UCC is at the end of the tax year. You will take that number and throw it into the start there. So let's say, for example, there were no assets. I will put 0 in there. Additions, it shows 20%. So maximum CCA, it says I can claim is up to $3,000. Now, you're probably thinking 30% is $6,000, but in the year you purchase, there is something called a half-year rule. So in this case, it only depreciates 15%, not the normal 30%. Now, it does say max CCA. To the side here, it says CCA claim. So CCA is an optional claim. So you can claim up to the maximum of $3,000, or you can claim any amount between 0 and that figure. So if you leave it blank, it will claim the maximum. And then you'll see here UCC at the end, 17,000. That will be what will carry forward to the next tax year. Or you can throw in an amount that you want to claim. So let's say, for example, 1,000. It will only claim that, and then it will show 19,000 as your ending UCC. So that's basically how the CCA works for that. Moving on to your business use of home expenses. So same sort of thing. For the business use of home expenses, you are only able to claim the business portion of your home expenses, such as heat, electricity, insurance, all that fun stuff. So it will prompt you to enter either the total area or the total number of rooms in the home. And then it will ask you for the total area of your workspace or the number of rooms in your workspace. Basically, two different ways. The first way is if you have like an actual home office space in your room, you can do the room option. Or if you have a common workspace that you use, such as like a kitchen table or a dining room table, basically you enter the total amount of space in your house, and then you enter the space that is occupied by your workspace. That will come up with a percentage. And then the third box down here, if you use your workspace for both business, what percentage of time you use it for business purposes. Basically, you come up with like a rough estimate of what percentage you use that space for business versus personal. Plunk all that information in there. And then when you get down to here, you're going to enter in your heating bills, electricity, home insurance, any repairs and maintenance that you had, mortgage interest, property taxes, and then there's other expenses such as including rent and all that kind of stuff. Moving on to motor vehicle. So same sort of thing as CCA. It will give you the option, how would you like to report your motor vehicle expenses? If you go down to the drop down, it gives you the option to report the totals only if you're comfortable doing all those calculations on your own, or we'll give you the option to calculate them as well. So If we go calculate them, it'll ask for some basic information about your motor vehicle, the make and the model. It will ask you for the total amount of kilometers you drove in the year, and then ask for the kilometers that you drove to earn business income. So if you are claiming motor vehicle expenses, it is very important to keep a log so that you can keep track of how much of your kilometers or your mileage is business related versus personal. So you'll go and enter that information into there, and that will spit out a percentage similar to the business use of home. And then down here, you go ahead and enter in your motor vehicle expenses, such as your fuel, interest. I'll talk about that here in a second. Motor vehicle insurance, license and registration fees, maintenance and repairs, stuff like that. Business parking fees. When you scroll a little bit farther down here, so it will ask you, did you finance this vehicle? So if you say yes, just to show you what it looks like, you can potentially write off interest. So you'll see that interest a little bit farther up was grayed out. So there is more of calculation that goes into that. And then if you leased a vehicle, there are different rules with regards to how much you can claim for lease. So if you say yes, there are more calculations here that you have to fill out to calculate that. And then if you have CCA that you're claiming on the vehicle, very similar to the CCA that I was showing you a little bit prior in the video, same sort of thing. You just kind of type in the information there and it'll help you calculate it. And then finally, there's some other info here. Was 2025 the last year of business? So I should have mentioned up during the identification section. So obviously, if you've been in business for a while, your fiscal year runs from January 1st to December 31st. If it's your first year of business, obviously the start date will be the date that you started up until December 31st. Vice versa, if it's the last year of business, it'll go from January 1st to the final date that you were in business. So you can put in yes or no there. Do you keep a balance sheet for this business? Again, that's optional. If you say yes, some different line numbers will prompt up. You can put in the numbers there that apply to you. And then finally, internet business activities. So if you do any kind of business through websites, they do ask for some information. So how many websites do you earn income from? And then the percentage of your gross income that is generated from websites. And once you fill out all that, that is how you fill out the T2125.
All right, and so that's exactly how you file your taxes as a self-employed business owner in Canada. And I know that that was a lot of information to take in, but here's the key takeaway. Keeping detailed records throughout the year makes your life so much easier. And so just remember, if you consistently track your income, keep all of your receipts for your expenses, and have a proper bookkeeping system, your next tax season will be a lot easier. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably someone who wants to learn about how to pay less taxes in Canada so that you can work smarter, not harder. And so if this is you, then watch this video next.